Now just to put this into perspective, most of the enslaved population in Santo Domingo were African born, coming from various West African ethnic groups. These guys were very tough, resilient, however they were about to have the worst job placements ever. Most of them worked in the fields harvesting sugar canes from dawn to dusk. Others served as household servants, and others as boilermen at the sugar mills. Or, if they were really lucky, they became overseers of other enslaved people, which was the easiest job to do. Life was no vacation in Santo Domingo. Long, cruel working days were the norm, and many enslaved people didn't survive for long, thanks to injuries, infections, and tropical diseases. As if that wasn't bad enough, malnutrition and starvation were very common. Also, because the plantation owners were terrible at planning for food shortages, droughts, and natural disasters. Well, you could say, why didn't the enslaved people just grow their own food? Well, they could barely do that because they spent their entire time just working long hours in the fields. And eventually some of these enslaved people decided that they had enough and managed to escape into the mountains. These brave enslaved, now semi-free, became known as the Maroons. And they didn't just sit around, they actually fought guerrilla battles against the colonial militias, making life a little bit more interesting for everyone. Now back in the settlements, many enslaved people, Maroons and the Afranchis, found comfort in voodoo, which was a religion that blended West African beliefs with a sprinkle of Catholicism. Others turned to Roman Catholicism alone, and many, just to cover all their bases, practiced both religions simultaneously. Now, the Haitian Revolution was like the world's most chaotic game of musical chairs. From 1791 to 1804, it was a non-stop series of shifting alliances, betrayals and battles involving enslaved Haitians, free people of color, colonialists, and even the British and the French troops got involved. So why got this revolution started? Well, several things were ticking people off. First, the Afranchis were fed up with racist society. Then, the French Revolution was sending shockwaves across the Atlantic. On top of that, voodoo ceremonies were turning into pep rallies for independence. And let's not forget the continued brutality of enslavers. Oh, and of course, Europe was busy playing its favorite game, who can start a war first? Now fast forward of May 1791, the French revolutionary government, in an attempt to show that they were still cool, granted citizenship to wealthy Afranchis. But the European population in Haiti were not happy about this. Just within 2 months, the tension exploded into isolated fighting between Europeans and Afranchis. And by August, thousands of enslaved people decided, well, it was their time to join in the rebellion. Now, with the Europeans realizing that things were now getting out of their hands, they tried to make peace with the Afranchis by offering them full citizenships in April of 1792.
All right, here. Just take this, then calm down a little bit. All right?
Yeah, too little too late, but we'll take it.
Then in 1793, this guy, Léger Félicité, was sent from France to sort out this mess. Seeing how messed up the whole situation was, he decided the best way to calm down the situation was to offer freedom to any enslaved people willing to join his army. And not surprisingly, this was a very popular offer. And soon after, he just went all ahead and abolished slavery altogether. The French government was like, why not? And confirmed the decision the following year. Meanwhile, in the Treaty of Basel in 1795, the Spanish were like, fine, you can take the rest of the island, France. But because Europe was busy with its usual wars, the transfer was more of a suggestion than a reality. Now by the late 1790s, this guy, Toussaint Louverture, was the man with a plan. This former enslaved person turned into a military leader was like, I'm in charge now, and started taking control of various areas. The French agents were all like, oh, we like this guy, but little did they know, Toussaint was playing his own game of chess, with plans that didn't match exactly with the France's plans. Now fast forward of May of 1801, Toussaint decides it's time to make things official. He declares himself Governor General for life. Because, why not? But Napoleon Bonaparte, back in France, was not about to let that slide. Now meet General Charles Leclerc, Napoleon's brother-in-law, who eventually showed up on the island with a backup army. Toussaint fought back really hard, turning the island into a battlefield for months. But by May of 1802, he was like, "Alright guys, fine, truce," thinking the French might actually stick to their word. And just like that, Toussaint was shipped off to France, where he was imprisoned and died in April of 1803, leaving a power vacuum back on the island. Dessalines and Harry Christopher were not about to let that happen. In 1802, they led a black army against the French, giving them a serious beatdown. By November of 1803, the French commander was waving the white flag. Eventually the French left, but they held on to the eastern part of the island until 1809 because, old habits never die. However, Haiti declared its independence in January 1st of 1804. The island had gone through a lot, and now it had a shiny new name straight from the Arawak language. But independence came with a price. Haiti was in complete shambles. Because the plantations were trashed, towns were in ruins, and the economy was basically a giant question mark. Plus, Haiti had a severe shortage of skilled workers and leaders. It didn't help that European countries and their Caribbean colonies were like, yeah, let's just pretend Haiti doesn't exist, out of fear that the slave revolt might spread throughout the Caribbean. And let's not forget that almost everyone in Haiti was extremely poor. A painful legacy of slavery would haunt the country for generations to come.